Glenn, question number 7. Would you vote to raise federal taxes? List 2 specific plans to improve our federal tax code.
I want you guys in the back to wave if you can hear me. I'm going to say this loud enough so that you do not have to read my lips. I will not vote to increase federal taxes if I'm a United States Senator. That one's pretty foundational. And 2 plans to improve the federal tax code. And by the way, I also have signed the Americans for Tax Reform pledge not to raise your taxes. So I didn't just tell you that loud enough you didn't have to read my lips. I also signed in writing. We've already talked tonight about ways we can cut spending, eliminate unconstitutional agencies like the Environmental Protection Agency and Department of Education, and other things that we'd all like to see gone as part of our lives. I think we ought to eliminate or dramatically cut the inheritance tax. That went away with the Bush tax cuts, came back with this resurrection, the extension of the tax cuts just last Christmas. Not much of a Christmas gift. We ought to do away with it so that people who are getting on in years and have companies can continue to invest in new jobs and not have to hoard the money so their families don't have to pay off their business. Eliminate or dramatically cut the capital gains tax, the corporate income tax. Ours is double the international average, which means we've got $1 trillion sitting in the Cayman Islands and Swiss bank accounts that American companies have made in other countries, but won't bring back to America to create American jobs because they know they've got to write half of it off to the federal government. Eliminate that corporate income tax, or at least get it down to the international average, and bring that money back to America to create jobs. Also the personal income tax, and my favorite thing, simply because the single most attractive thing about the fair tax plan is that as opposed to filling out what you owe on a postcard and still mailing it to the IRS, under the fair tax plan there wouldn't be any IRS to mail it to.
Mr. Hoekstra, question number 7. Would you vote to raise federal taxes? List 2 specific plans to improve our federal tax code.
Of course not. I haven't voted to raise taxes in 18 years. Why start now? I've signed the pledge. I signed it before. And I've lived it every year. Washington has more than enough revenue and spending. I'm a fan of the fair tax. We need to move in that direction. I've talked with my friends in the fair tax organization, talked with a lot of experts, and it appears that the best interim step towards moving to the fair tax is the plan that everybody who's watched the debate now knows. 9, 9, 9. It fixes our corporate tax, all these things that lobbyists and all these evil people do. No need for them anymore because you're not going to get the loopholes because it's 9%. The flat tax, it simplifies taxes for all of us and we can't fill it out on a postcard. The sales tax means that everyone shares in paying taxes. It's, 47% of the people today don't pay tax, don't pay an income tax. They need to share in the cost of this great democracy. Now we got to put some protections in place. We need to put in the balanced budget amendment that caps spending because you can't put this tax structure in and have it become a feeding machine for Washington, D.C. So you need to put those protections in of the balanced budget amendment, which requires a balanced budget and caps federal spending. Think of where we are today, horrendous tax structure, 999, and the ultimate goal of getting to a fair tax. That's how we can move forward. Thank you.
Next part of the program, I'd like to ask a question. Now, I know Pete Hoekstra called me 2 days ago.
Tell you what, we're not going to do that at this point in time. Thank you, Mr.
When can I
Moreno.
speak?
You could ask him later.
Two weeks ago, I asked you.
Mr. Moreno, you're out of line.
Go away. Sit down. You're out of order.
You're out of order.
That's
Thank you. We now come to our 1-minute closing statements. Our first question was in alphabetical order. Our closing statements will be in reverse alphabetical order. We will start with Mr. Kanachi. And we will strictly adhere to the 1-minute time limit. Thank you.
I never thought K would be the last of the alphabet. I believe that the U.S. Constitution is a perfect document to establish a government for free people. It limits the federal government to national functions only and allows the people to address everything else, and that's what makes this country great. I know I only have a very, very short amount of time, so what I'd like to do is just let anyone know that if you agree with my principles, I do have nominating petitions on the back table, and if you wouldn't mind signing them, I'd appreciate that. Plus, campaigns are extremely expensive, so if you'd mind making a donation, we also have donation envelopes. The other thing is that it always puzzles me. Again, I think the federal government, the Constitution is a perfect document, and it always surprises me that some people go through and they say, even though the government's ignoring key aspects of the Constitution, like its enumerated powers and other things, and different amendments, why do they want to put in additional amendments rather than just enforcing the existing provisions of the Constitution? So I want to enforce the existing provisions of the Constitution and not put in additional amendments that can be ignored.
Thank you, Mr. Knapp.